Welcome to my podcast, From Divorce to Divinely Designed. I am your host, Michelle Wright, a spiritual mentor and guide for women navigating the full arc of rebuilding a life after divorce. Whether you're in the middle of the hardest chapter, opening your heart to love again, or rebuilding a blended family, you are in the right place. In this podcast, we explore how this is not happening to you, but how it is happening for you. Let's begin. Welcome to the podcast, From Divorce to Divinely Designed. And today I have back for part 2 my wonderful guest, Rachel Gossett. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I felt like it was much needed after our last talk.
It was interesting because it's almost, we talked a lot about the divinely designed, the ways that you healed in
Yes.
not necessarily connected to divorce. And the end when you said we need to have part 2.
Yes.
And I think so many ways because these transitions, these events in our lives are so big, it's hard to really condense them to a 45-minute conversation.
It really is. It really is. It's a long coffee talk with a bestie for a few hours at least.
Exactly. So today, love for you to share just about your divorce and how it impacted you, and perhaps through the process, were there any reframes, any aspects that happened?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I got married to my ex in October of 2009. We met when we were in the academy. Yes, if you didn't know that about me, I was in law enforcement for 6 years. That's a whole nother story. Yes, a federal agent, a criminal investigator for the government. So that's where I met my ex-husband, in the academy. And we wind up going to the same office. So we built our relationship. We got married in October of 2009. And we were married for 7 years. That was when I had no idea that things were rocky. At that time, we were trying for baby number 2. So it came to me as a complete surprise when he told me that he was moving out of the blue. Yes. And I can still keep it in mind. It was November. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I know. Divine timing, right? So I remember we were sitting down. I was on my way to go pick up our son. He was at daycare, but I felt something was off, and then he wanted to have this conversation with me. I'm like, okay. And he told me he was moving out. I was completely shocked because I had no idea. I didn't have any inkling. And he felt that we were roommates, and he gave me like a list of all these excuses or whatever. So I was devastated, and I still just didn't understand, but he left, and that was it. And through our separation from November until February, I had wanted him to go see our therapist together because we were going for counseling together for some other things. He was in the Marine Corps, so he was dealing with a lot of trauma that he experienced then. He a drinker as well. So we were trying to balance all of these things in our life. And then I left the government and started a new career in speech language pathology. So a lot of transitions and change. And we went one time, and he was very closed off about trying to get it to work. And then it wasn't until in February, he would come by and see our son and spend time with him, but he just didn't know about us. And I kept trying and trying and trying, but nothing. So in February, he had said he was traveling for work, that he was going to be in Georgia, but it turned out that was a lie. And so this is February 2017. My brother found something on Facebook about him being tagged, and he was in Paris with another woman.
Oh, your heart must have broken.
It did. I was completely devastated. And it was for Valentine's Day. He had taken her to Paris for Valentine's Day. And I had no idea that he had this relationship on the side for as long as he did, right? I believe that it was for about a year until I found out. He says otherwise, but the length doesn't really matter. It was just the trust that was broken. And when he came back, for me, infidelity was always a non-negotiable, right? And because I even tried to think about, how am I going to move through this? How am I going to stay with someone who I can't trust, who's lied and lied and lied and lied, right? So I made the decision for my well-being and for my son. I didn't want him to grow up in a household like that. And who's to say that my ex would have came back to me anyway?
Yes.
So that's when I started the process for divorce legally. And it was the hardest time. I spent all of my savings. I had to tap into my retirement. I had to buy him out of the house. And it was really, really, really expensive. And it's not even about the money. It was just about the emotions that I went through and just the feeling of everything. It was like grief, anger, numbness, right? All of those stages is what I went through. And thinking, am I doing the right thing for our son? And just all of that, the what ifs and the should haves and the could haves. And I even blamed myself, Michelle.
Yeah.
Right? If I was better, he wouldn't have gone to look for companionship somewhere else. And for a very long time, I blamed myself with the divorce, with the infidelity, with everything, that it was my fault.
Your story speaks of that shame, like you say, the grief, what's going to happen. And also, when you make that decision, it's not just for yourself, it's for your
Yeah.
child. And you're also right then and there plummeted, often also into a different economic bracket. So,
Yes,
right? So but
Yeah.
it all compounds on itself
it does.
because it is so difficult to make that choice. And economically, and as a single parent, you're trying to continue to work and do what you want, and then you don't have a partner. And so those feelings of, am I making the right choice? How is this happening to me? And what is wrong with me? Such a deep feeling. And I read, if I could say, it's just a deep well. Was so difficult to get out of when you're in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought about that for a very, very long time. I always felt there was something, that a lot of it was my fault. And just, I was so heartbroken. I really was, because when I married this guy, he was my ride or die. We had all these plans and everything like that. And I didn't think that I was going to be a statistic, right?
Right.
The one out of two that's going to get divorced. No, I thought it was going to be my friends, right? And you talk about shame. I felt so much shame about being divorced that it didn't work out. And for a very long time, I carried that shame of saying, yeah, I'm divorced, because I was afraid of what people were going to think, or their judgment. And I acted from a place that wasn't healthy. So if I could, I would try to sneak the blame on him, because I didn't want people to project anything negative to me. I wanted to him. But I do feel that the divorce was meant to happen, right? All of these things in our life is meant to happen. When I was in it, no, of course not. But looking in hindsight, it definitely was meant to be, to meet my ex, to have our son together. But then our relationship went different ways, and that's okay, because people grow, people change, right? And And what he did, I completely forgive everything about what happened in our relationship. And because he was going through his own stuff, right? So it's not his fault. It's not my fault. It was just meant to happen. And if I didn't experience this divorce, then I wouldn't have met my now husband. I wouldn't have my 3 beautiful daughters, right? My older son wouldn't be a big brother. I'd be the most amazing big brother. So, like, all of these things wouldn't have happened if I had stayed in a relationship that wasn't healthy.
Yes. And that's it. It's hard to understand that at the moment. Just a couple of things. One thing I too had to recognize, you could sit in anger, shame, and these real destructive emotions. You could choose to find a way through them and not, I didn't have the language at that time to reframe it
No.
into this happening to me, but I did recognize, I had a powerful moment where I realized that regardless of my husband and I and our relationship, because now he was my ex, my children loved him, thought he was the strongest. They thought he was so great.
Mhm.
And I had this vision of myself for my children. I would do anything for them. I would give them a kidney, would die for them. And it hit me. I don't have to do anything so heroic. I need to treat their father with dignity and respect.
Absolutely.
Just like I did the grocer or
Mhm.
anyone walking down, and
Yeah.
have that same amount of dignity and respect as a human being, regardless of my emotions. And I say, I knew I had to work through them. And I also needed to chat to my family because they loved me. And I said, the greatest gift you could give to my children is that you will treat their dad with dignity and respect because they love their father. So he Christmases. So they needed to come at Christmas. And it was such a hard, difficult journey. But I agree. On the other side of it, you recognize, ah, isn't like all difficult life journeys, you recognize hindsight 2020, the power of that experience and
Mhm.
how the choices you made expanded beyond what you could have done had you stayed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you brought up about treating your ex with dignity. And even though there were moments where if like a friend or somebody was talking to me and then I would tell them what really happened. With my son, I never spoke ill about his father. And because it wasn't about that, it was just about what happened between me and him. And when Noah had asked, "Oh, why are you guys not together?" And he was only 4 years old when this happened. And I just said, "People change, feelings change." And that's all I said. And even to this day, now he's 13, I will never tell him what truly happened, right? If that's something his father wants to have that conversation with him, so be it. But it's not coming out of my mouth because he doesn't need to know. And he just needs to know that I loved his dad very dearly and I still love him a lot, right? You can be divorced and still have love and compassion for your ex. I do. Regardless of what happened, I still do deep down. I meet him with so much love and grace and compassion because he's a father of my child.
I mean, I'm not a saint. We had arguments, and I explained to my friend that people who are still married have arguments. That's a natural aspect of any relationship.
Sure.
And it's about how do we deal with the conflict. Now, what ends up happening as they get 18, you don't need to stay as in contact with the other parent as when you're
Yes.
sharing that cut through, they're going one weekend or
Yes.
every weeks, however your sharing is going on.
Mhm.
So it's times it's very intense. Later on, you can just appreciate. I can appreciate who he was. And I would say to my
Yes.
kids, you were born out of great love. You were deeply in love and you were born of it. Like that's how you were created, is two people wanting you
Hmm.
and creating you. So
Yeah. Beautifully said. Absolutely. And it just kind of reminded me, I still have my engagement ring that my ex gave me. And I kept it. In the thick of it, my friend's like, oh no, Stella, get rid of it, right? And I was like, no, I'm going to keep it for Noah because like you said, there was a time where we actually loved each other, right? We had that deep connection. And this ring was one of the symbols of it, right? Like a tangible symbol. So I wanted to keep it for Noah if he ever wanted it in the future. And yes, so I completely agree with everything that you said. And I also, Noah, which is so beautiful that his dad will talk to my current husband, right? So we're kind of co-creating everything together in a sense. And we come together and Noah's sisters absolutely love him. Absolutely love him. And they think he's the best thing. They want to go over his house. Now, does he want them over the house? That's another story, right? But it's so beautiful how you can come from such darkness and then to where we are now, where we're this blended family and there's no hard feelings, right? Everybody is cordial to one another. Everyone is respectful to one another. Noah just graduated 8th grade and we were all there together. So I'm so grateful that we can be together as a unit.
Yes. And I do recognize that it does take the other person to also choose that path. Because I know there are some women where they don't have that because their ex is destructive,
Yes.
refuses to engage in a cordial relationship, a healthy relationship. So I do recognize that that is out there. And then there's a different approach you need to have. But if you are able and the other is able to move through to that place of we are just people who chose each other at one time and can
Yes.
continue to build family together. It's the same in our house. We have always had my ex-husband come at Christmas. And so he does know all of our children.
Mhm.
He is,
Mhm.
there will be times actually my ex will just call my husband for advice. It's a relationship outside of myself.
I love
And
that.
it is because they are both musical, but I do believe it's about a choice. One choice, the choice not to sit in anger, choice to allow. And I saw it was a choice because I would become bitter, angry. I could have stayed in that place of real darkness. And it was finding a way through, finding a perspective, a light.
Yeah, same thing. My ex is with someone and I pray and I wish them all of the best. And I generally do hope he finds happiness because I know he's struggling about different things as well. And you talk about the being in the darkness, right? And the bitterness, the anger. And I was there for a good amount of time, probably about a couple years. And it wasn't until I met my current husband now where he showed me things in a different light. And he cracked open inside of me this part of me that was ready to actually start healing the anger, the bitterness, and that resentment and all of the other hurt feelings and emotions with my ex-husband. And I decided in 2023 I already had my 3 girls by then, but still I was affected by seeing my ex when he picked up our son. And yes, I was in a marriage that I was happy. I had my 3 girls, but still there was a part of me that was holding on, still clinging on to what we had. And it wasn't until I started working with this woman and she was a somatic healer and she introduced me to breathwork, active breathwork. And during an active breathwork session, I was deep in it, right? Breathing really heavily. And I had this vision of my ex. He was standing there, and then I saw this fish hook, and it was in my heart. And during the journey, she guided me to scream a couple of times. So I screamed in the pillow. And if anything about breathwork and somatic, screaming actually helps to release some of that stuck energy that's inside of you, those emotions that you're carrying. After I screamed, I saw the fish hook come out of my heart, and then he walked away. And after the session, I just felt different energetically. I couldn't really put words to it. And it wasn't until the next time I saw him when he picked up our son that I didn't cry. And it was the first time that I didn't cry. And it got me curious. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And then I took notice about how I wasn't holding on to him anymore like I was before the breathwork session. So the breathwork definitely was one layer that helped me to remove some of those energetic cords and hooks that I was still tied to him. So it was really a beautiful experience.
Yes. And I find if you can find a modality that helps you. So breath work, it was cards for me. It was starting to reframe my thinking and reframe how I was experiencing an anchor to the past from trauma,
Sure.
from past relationships, and now changing to recognize the worthiness of love, the worthiness of joy and happiness. We continuously have opportunities and experiences that bring us to that place of choice. How can I move forward? How can I experience something different? Now, for you, how is blending?
Yeah, so blending. When I met my current husband, Noah was 5 years old. And yeah, it was still pretty fresh. He just finished kindergarten, and I met my now husband in 2016. And when I brought him to meet my son, I was very nervous. And I made sure that Noah knew that I wasn't trying to replace his dad, that this was just mommy's friend. That's it. And my husband, he completely took him in at that time as if he was his own, playing with him and just all the love and the compassion. And I knew that this was a good man, down to his soul, just the way he accepted my past and my son. Right. Because when we talk about the shame of being divorced, not everybody is accepting to date somebody who's been divorced, especially if they're religious. And my husband he was raised in Alabama, Bible Belt, Church of Christ, Christian, and he was okay with it. But I know, his family had some different ideas and some other people, but it is what it is. And so we were able to come together really nicely and beautifully. It just happened organically, and it was so great. And Noah first started off calling him Mr. West, right? His name's Wes. And then he transitioned into just Wes. And which was so nice because it didn't feel so formal to him anymore. He was just very comfortable, right? This is a guy who's, now married to my mom and, a part of our family. So I am super grateful that it happened very naturally and organically. And even when I became pregnant with the twins, he was so excited, Noah. He did not feel any way about me having more children. And Noah is such a tender soul. He is an old soul. And when his sisters were born, they were born at 30 weeks, so they were in the NICU for a long time. And he would just worry about them and so much care and prayer and everything. It was really beautiful how everything came together. And even now to this day, he's 13, the twins are 6, the youngest is 5. And he is big brother. He is the idol. They call each other brother and sister, right? There's no like half this or half that. They're brother and sister. End of story. And the way he is, Noah, with his sisters and the light that he shines with them and the way that the girls gravitate towards him, it's like they're a protector, which is so beautiful. So I'm really, really happy how that blended. Now, I don't really have a big family. I just have my brother and his wife. So he blended really greatly with Wes. I'm laughing because the other side of the family, my husband's side of the family, we did not blend so well. And I'm laughing now, but before when I was in it, I would not be laughing. I would be crying hysterically. Me.
And how do you experience this blending and see it as how can it help you grow?
Oh, Michelle, was there a lesson? Yes, absolutely. So I had mentioned Bible Belt, Alabama. His family is very conservative. Wes is considered the black sheep of the family, right? He left Alabama and all of that. So, and he even told me he always felt different from his family. He didn't always resonate with their belief system and their thoughts and their ideas. So, but when they found out about me, his mom was genuinely happy. His mom has passed since, but when I first met him, she was still alive. And when he told her about me, she was genuinely happy, right? As a mom, of course, you want to see your son happy. But his two sisters, they had other thoughts and ideas, and they really came at him with a lot of judgment and I'm going to say hate. Hate is a strong word. I don't like using it, but they highly disliked me. Yes, and hate. Because of how I grew up Catholic and then divorce and having a son and not really belonging to their religion, to Christianity at that time. And his father, he was very quiet and didn't say much. We got engaged very quickly. It was less than a year, right? And especially at that age. So it was 2018, we got engaged and we got married. And not 2018, 2019. We got engaged and got married. We met in 2018. And they were not happy about it, to say the least. And even his mom thought it was a little too fast, but she could get past that. And whenever I went down to Alabama to see them, because that's where they live still, I had to hide who I was. I couldn't talk about, like, I wear crystals on my wrist, crystal bracelets. I couldn't do the crystal things. I had to have my dress to make sure it was past my knees. I couldn't really show my legs. I had to be dressed conservative. My whole back is tattooed. I really shouldn't be showing off my tattoo. And I couldn't talk about the quote unquote witchiness of me. Like my husband knew about the Reiki and all of that. And so I couldn't talk about Reiki. I couldn't talk about energy healing. So I really had to shut down this side of me in front of them. I'm like, okay, whatever. They're in Alabama. I can do that for you for the few days that I'm there. So let's fast forward to October 2022. And his mom had already passed. She passed in 21. So now it's just his dad, his two sisters, and then their families. They're both married with children. So his father was visiting in October. And it was one night. Wes was working. So it was just me, 4 kids upstairs. And I was entertaining his dad. I was washing the dishes and he came up to me and he showed me my Instagram page. And I felt this big contraction. I was like, oh shit, here it comes. They found me. So his older sister sent a screenshot of my Instagram page And it says on there that at that time, I think it said Reiki, intuitive channel, or something with spirit. I don't remember. But like all of that is a big no. With So he verbally attacked me, and my husband wasn't present. So, and Noah, he heard the whole thing. He was awake upstairs, but my 3 children, the 3 girls, were sleeping. And it was just, from what I remember, is just Bible verses being thrown, asking me, how do I know that spirit is here? And I told him, I said, I feel my mom. I talk to my mom, and how I talk to angels and like all of these other beings. And he goes, how do you're not talking to the devil? And I was like, it's not the devil. And so then I went into a whole conversation about that. So I generally try to explain my point of view, my opinion, my perspective. I wanted to say I communicate with your wife, but I didn't say that. Right? Wanted to say I have visions of how you are at home alone, because like I would channel these visions of him being in deep sorrow. I didn't say any of that. I just kept it to me and those other experiences. And then I said, I believe that there's a God. And I just went on all these things. And at one point, he had asked me, do you believe in the gospel? He's like, all of it. And I paused, and then I looked at him and I said, no, I don't believe in everything, because they believe everything literally, word for word, that the Bible is a rule book. And that's fine. If that's what you want to believe in, that's fine. But realize not everybody has the same thought. And when I said no, he told me that's a real problem. And he got so angry. And I was scared. I was nervous. I started crying. And then I listed all these things to him. I said, I'm a good mother. I'm a good wife. I'm a speech therapist. I'm a hospice volunteer. All of these other things. I said, I love to try to live my life with love and compassion for others. I go, that's who I am. And that's what defines me. And then I said, I'm a good person. And he said, no, you're not. And so because I don't believe in the Bible word for word, that negates everything that I do on earth. I laugh now because as I speak out loud, it's pretty ridiculous. But when I was in it, I was not laughing. And I just remember crying afterwards and calling my husband, bothering him at work and telling him what happened and apologizing. I apologized to him. I'm so sorry that your family doesn't like me. So again, I felt like it was my fault.
Yes. Yes. In listening to your story, I find an echo of mine in that there is a thread that you have had to learn to deal with and accept about yourself in your life. And it comes in different ways. Mine comes through self-worth, recognizing who I am and sitting in who I am. That has been my journey, is that I need to not people please. I need to recognize who I am, the light that I am, and not allow people to call me something different. And it seems like, as you say, once again, I'm apologizing. Do you find that echo? Was there an echo for you throughout your life now coming together?
Absolutely. Ever since I was a little girl, I had to apologize for who I was. If I was the girl who laughed really loud and snorted while she laughed, if I thought things were funny and telling jokes all the time. And then as I got older, the girl who liked to tell jokes, right? And just for being a big feeler or too sensitive. So there's a whole bunch of things. And I do see the pattern of me trying to people please, of trying to get people to like me and to actually be somebody different so that way people would like me and love me and accept me. It was really a big turning point, a catalyst for me, because it helped me to start shedding those old belief systems, to really begin to get curious on how can I heal this part of me so I can stop people pleasing, stop worrying about what everyone is thinking about me, and to finally be me, be my loud, eccentric self. And with all of the witchiness and just everything about me. And I'm so happy that I went through that hard period with my in-laws, because if I didn't, one, I wouldn't be here sharing it with you today. And two, I wouldn't have fully stepped into my power, fully have stepped into who I am. I wouldn't have been able to show up for my clients, women I work with. I wouldn't have been able to show my children, especially my daughters, that no one should quiet you for being a woman and for thinking X, Y, and Z. So I am super grateful. I am sorry that my husband has to go through this with his family, that he lost his immediate family because of this. And they officially have shunned us from the family. They don't even talk to their grandchildren. And it's all very sad. But at the same time, I want my children around that energy of judgment and hate. And I don't want my husband to see that he's less of a man because they think that in their mindset, he's the man. Why is he allowing this to happen in his house? So they basically demasculated him of what's going on. Yes, and it's awful. But again, do you want to be around people who didn't value you for you? No. It took me a long time to realize that, but I am super honored and grateful that I went through this tough time. And it even made our relationship stronger, because at first it was driving a wedge between me and my husband, right? Because it's his family versus me. And then at the end of the day, it brought us closer. And he said to me, he's like, Rachel, you're my wife. Well, he doesn't even call me Rachel. He calls me dear. He goes, dear. Hey. He's like, you're my wife. Of course I'm going to support you. And he's like, it's you and me and our family. This is what matters the most to me. So I'm very grateful for Wes, for the experience, for helping me to see that you do not have to dim your light. And again, your energy is so precious and not everybody deserves it.
That is so true. What a heart-wrenching. I want to say that because that experience of shame. So you had shame of the person. Now you have shame of being who you are, the way
Yeah.
you're created. So I'm very sorry. Like, as I hear that, I can feel that
Yeah.
challenge and that difficulty. And I'm also absolutely ecstatic for you that you can shift that and come to a point of, and it is about you coming to that point, because it has to be
Yeah.
you saying, no, this is my worth. You have no longer have the right to name me as
Absolutely.
someone important. You no longer have the right to have my energy, have my love, have my light. And so that is a powerful becoming, recognizing who is able to accept that gift from you, with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a minute to get there, but that's okay. And just for whoever's listening, just know that going through your transformation and healing, you don't have to put a timestamp on it. It happens when it happens. It happens organically, divine timing. You go through the lessons that you need to learn. And even with my divorce, there are still times where I hear a song and I think of my ex-husband, a song that we shared, and I get a little bit triggered, right? I start to feel it in my body. But what's different is that I can move through it and I can continue to move forward. It doesn't cause me to go into a downward spiral. It doesn't cause me to completely lose it. And that's how I know that I am healing. When I can have these moments that try to challenge me, try to trigger me, and I can move through it the way with the tools that I've learned, with the mindset, and just all of the practical experiences that I've gone through. And the same thing with my in-laws. So I go to church with every Sunday, and he knows I go to church with him because I support him. I don't go because I actually want to. It's a
Form of love.
Yes. And because, I just don't resonate with everything that they say, but that's fine. For a long time, I worried about what the other people were going to think of me if they found out. I didn't share this before, but my in-laws, it was a modern day witch hunt, Michelle. They actively sought to put me or burn me at the stake. So when they weren't getting through to my husband, when they weren't getting through to me about changing my ways, about looking at the Bible differently, they started reaching out to our friends. So people that are more like family to us here and that also go to this church, they would reach out to these two people who are like a mom and dad to us, right? They're the grandparents of our kids. And they reached out to them. They had a Zoom meeting about me, about all of the awful things that I'm doing, because they genuinely believe that I am a sorceress and that I'm working with darkness. But it was so beautiful because our adopted family was like, no, everything's fine. We don't know what you're talking about. This has nothing. They weren't bothered by it. But they reached out to several people that are very close to us. And they all tried to get the reaction that they were looking for. And no one gave them the reaction. Everyone said, do you even know Rachel? So it was such a beautiful and humbling experience that these people who have my back and genuinely see me for me, not my spiritual beliefs or any of that. And another thing that they did as well in their church in Alabama, they had a meeting with the elders where they told the elders about me. Because everybody would be asking, how's Wes? How's the wife? How are the kids? So finally, they felt like they had to confess that Wes is married to a heathen, the sorceress that's casting spells and all of the above.
And I just want to add in here, the sorceress that is using Reiki and volunteering in hospital. You're volunteering in hospice, taking your time and energy to heal and give comfort to those in a challenging time of their life.
Yes, that's me. I know it's so silly, but when I was in it, I was crying and I felt so much anguish going through it because they would send me emails too, and very hurtful emails, and again with the Bible verses. And this one Bible verse he sent me compared me to murderers and some other very serious people. And I'm like, wow, you see me in the same category as a murderer. And that was almost the light that went off of me, like, Rachel, you don't need this. So then that's when I started setting boundaries. I put block on my email and I told my husband, how I felt and about boundaries. And he was more than happy to comply and everything like that. So it definitely was a humbling experience. And there are moments where they still, I want to say, troll my social media, because if you look at stories or something, you can see who watches. So there are moments where I see his family is watching. Before it used to trigger me, now it doesn't anymore. And anything about his family doesn't trigger me anymore. But it took a lot of work using all of those different somatic tools, using Reiki, the mindset, changing my belief system, even my past experiences as well, to really help me shift through that time, through that period, and to heal that layer of me. And as I heal that layer of me, I am now standing tall, superhero pose on top of the mountain. Like no one's gonna F with me now.
Yes. And when you talk about, for those listening, that idea of our stories, they're similar, they're different, there's threads that pull through. Everybody's story is going to be different. I think the thread that is offered to each of us through divorce, through blending, is recognizing and being curious about what is being triggered, because it's
Yeah.
very specific and different for every person. And it usually comes back to our own heart first, our own sense of self love, self forgiveness, self compassion, of recognizing our imperfections. And yet within our imperfections, we're absolutely perfect.
We're all cut from the same cloth. We all come from the divine source. We all are one, and we all have love deep down within. It's whether or not we want to show that love, right? Express that love. But we all are one. And I really do. One of the things that I try to do in my practice every day, just as a human, is to meet everyone with love and compassion. Even if I don't agree with something, even if someone makes me a little bit angry or whatever it is, I stop myself and I think, "Oh, what? That person may be having a bad day," or "That person is really not operating from their highest frequency at this time." And I'm not condoning certain things, but I feel that if you move through life with that mindset of love and compassion, and you express that love and compassion towards others, you just have this ripple effect with people. Holding the door for someone, saying thank you, smiling. I've been very more conscientious about talking to strangers. I'm a very shy person. I do not like talking to people. I get very shy and embarrassed. But I've been every day, I talk to at least one stranger. And whether that's giving them a compliment, whether that's saying hi, something small. And because I feel that we need more of that in our world, because there is so much hatred, that we need more people to shine their light in some way. And it could just be a simple task of saying hi and smiling.
I would agree with you. Another thing that I wanted to bring forward for you was the power of community. You talked about that adopted family you've had. You talked about
Mhm.
people within your community, your faith community, and how choosing the people that support who you really are, showing them who you are through this kindness, through this love, and they see when this community that supports you when others come in and try and name you as something different. And that's
Mhm.
something you systematically built with your husband.
Yeah, absolutely. Community is everything. If you don't have your person, you need to go find your person or your people, because it's so extremely important to have those people that you can go to as yourself, to be vulnerable, and they're not going to judge you for that. And I am super grateful that we have this family, and their family is massive. So between all of the brothers and the children and the grandchildren and so forth and so on, so we've really been adopted into this family, and our kids call the grandmother and grandpa, their children, aunts and uncles. And so it's really such a beautiful thing that my children get to grow up in this family, because as I said, I really don't have family, just my brother and his wife and stepkids, and then this side family. So find your people. Find the people that you can go to authentically, that you can share, that you can be you and you don't have to hide. And when I'm with these people, I don't have to hide. They accept my mind in the gutter. They accept me and my laugh and my snorting and whatever. They follow me on Instagram. Do they believe in everything that I say? No, but they don't judge me. They're like, all right, Rach, you do you.
They just think, you be wholly yourself and we're going to enjoy you. And you're giving,
Yes.
you give that
Yes.
same back to them. And
Yes.
for women who are going through divorce, going through blending, going through these dark times, I love what you captured. There's no one right way. There's no timeline that fits in. The curriculum is the curriculum you're in. That's one thing
Yes.
I've been learning, because I'm like, I need this to stop. I don't want it anymore. And it's like, it's your curriculum right now. Continue to be
Yes.
curious. Continue
Yes.
to find a way to your wholeness. Oh, I hope
Absolutely.
that they see that it can be in many different ways, and the choices that they make for love, for community, for wholeness makes a difference.
It sure does. Yes. Just keep being you. There's only one you. Just keep being you. I mean, you're a gift to the world. So,
Well, I want to thank you for coming back on for part 2 and sharing this vulnerable part of yourself. Last time we talked about, I say, the divinely designed, we heard
yes.
the challenges that come that open you up, that I call them invitations to expand, explore through the
Mhm.
crunchy life.
Yes. Yes. And life is always going to be crunchy, right? It's just, as you said, it's just a matter of meeting it with curiosity and having your community and the tools that resonate with you so you can move through it.
I want people to understand, whoever's listening, the different ways can connect with your beautiful spirit, the power of Reiki, the power of breath work that you offer, the power of intuition and readings. And on your Instagram, you have different ways that they can interact with you on free platforms, or they can work with you one-on-one or in group settings. So talk to us about yourself and what's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, you can find me at Reiki by Ray. That's RAE. And then on there in the bio link, you have access to everything else, my website. And I love working with women and helping them to really find that unconditional love, to have nervous system safety, and to reach a place of authenticity for however that looks for them. And most importantly, too, for the mamas that I work with to help stop the generational patterns, because my children were a big influence for me. And so that way we can move forward, impact our children, impact the world, and healing all of these things that we don't need to be fixed. We're fine just as we are. And the way that I love to work with women doing this is through the one-on-one breath work. I have a one-on-one intuitive offering that blends the Reiki. We get really crystal clear on something that you're stuck on. And then I have a mentorship container where I call it reclaiming your light, because that is what I'm here to do for you, to help you reclaim your light, to guide you step by step on how we can peel back those layers of programming and conditioning and those old belief systems that you think that you should be like this. But let's get to a point where you can really shine your light of who you truly are underneath all of that. And my most important priority is that you're safe in my sessions, that you feel safe. Because without safety, it's going to be really hard to heal. So I do a lot of nervous system safety work.
You are such a light to the world. I have been in many different communities with you. I have enjoyed experiencing your gifts personally, and
Thank
I can't wait for the listeners to get you and your healing power, your humor, your wittiness. Don't
you.
it. You are so joyful. I just
Thank
love seeing it.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. If something in this episode landed for you, trust that. It found you for a reason. If today's episode moved something in you, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. That is how we find each other. You can connect with me on my website, michellewright.co, and on Instagram at michellewright.co. And if you're ready to go deeper, a free connection call is the first step. Because this is not happening to you, it is happening for you. Until next time.